I think, therefore I am. René Descartes. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle. The mind is everything. What you think you become. Buddha. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why so few engage in it. Henry Ford. To think is easy. To act is difficult. To act as one thinks is the most difficult. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. Plutarch. The essence of knowledge is having it to apply it, not having it to confess your ignorance. Confucius. The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Richard Feynman. You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. Rumi. I cannot teach anybody anything, I can only make them think. Socrates. The most important thing is not to stop questioning. Albert Einstein. Doubt is the origin of wisdom. René Descartes. All truly great thoughts are conceived by walking. Friedrich Nietzsche. Thinking is more interesting than knowing, but less interesting than looking. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Albert Einstein. If you want to change the world, change yourself. Mahatma Gandhi. The mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. Dalai Lama. Education is the ability to listen to almost anything without losing your temper or your self-confidence. Robert Frost. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. Albert Einstein. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. An unexamined thought is a wasted thought. Soren Kierkegaard. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. Mahatma Gandhi. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Martin Luther King Jr. Thinking is the talking of the soul with itself. Plato. A person who won't read has no advantage over one who can't read. Mark Twain. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably why so few engage in it. Henry Ford. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Oscar Wilde. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Aristotle. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Steve Jobs. The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not is a fool for life. Confucius. To be conscious of being, you need to reclaim consciousness from the mind. This is one of the most essential tasks on your spiritual journey. Eckhart Tolle. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Wayne Dyer. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. Albert Einstein. It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see. Henry David Thoreau. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge but imagination. Albert Einstein. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create. Buddha. Thinking is easy, acting is difficult, and to put one's thoughts into action is the most difficult thing in the world. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The way we see the problem is the problem. Stephen Covey. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Eleanor Roosevelt. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Rumi. The more you know yourself, the more clarity there is. Self-knowledge has no end. Jiddu Krishnamurti. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. Shunryu Suzuki. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Albert Einstein. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. James Allen. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. The only way to do great work is to first love what you do. Steve Jobs. Life is a journey, and if you fall in love with the journey, you will be in love forever. Peter Haggerty. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Jean-Baptiste Alphonse Carr. He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened. Lao Tzu. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. Charles R. Swindoll. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. Buddha. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Marcus Aurelius. It is not enough to have a good mind. The main thing is to use it well. René Descartes. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. Plato. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Dalai Lama. The only thing that is constant is change. Heraclitus. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Socrates. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Malcolm X. The only way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. Linus Pauling. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Nelson Mandela. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. Our doubts are traitors, and make us lose the good we oft might win, by fearing to attempt. William Shakespeare. The true test of intelligence is not how much we know how to do, but how we behave when we don't know what to do. John Holt. He who asks a question is a fool for 5 minutes. He who does not ask a question remains a fool forever. Chinese proverb. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. Steve Jobs. The most important thing is to never stop questioning. Albert Einstein. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. Eleanor Roosevelt. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Buddha. No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. Heraclitus. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Ralph Waldo Emerson. We do not see things as they are. We see them as we are. Anais Nin. What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. Zig Ziglar. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Albert Einstein. The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Leonardo da Vinci. Our life always expresses the result of our dominant thoughts. Soren Kierkegaard. The only source of knowledge is experience. Albert Einstein. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Martin Luther King Jr. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. Theodore Roosevelt. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it's the ability to deal with them. Steve Maraboli. The unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. As we think, so we become. Bruce Lee. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Franklin D. Roosevelt. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. Confucius. There is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. Nelson Mandela. You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Maya Angelou. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. William Ernest Henley. When you want to fool the world, tell the truth. Otto von Bismarck. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. William James. The greatest gift of life is friendship, and I have received it. Hubert H. Humphrey. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Edmund Burke. We must be the change we wish to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Marcus Aurelius. It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. Seneca. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Dalai Lama.